Feels good to be back. Although, why the game isn't also happy to be back is beyond me. Here. Oh, that's why. Okay, fair enough. Should fix the problem. There we go. Oh, good lord. That feels morbid to wave to. Yeah, I've missed streaming. My AC's been... bleh. Also, welcome to Milk Latte. Welcome to Shrim. How's everybody else doing? Tar, Dog, Lucha, Theo, Amir. Amir can't hear me, but that's okay. Devin, how's it going? Yeah, so hoping we get done with the game this month. It's like all of August. So somebody ran. I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember where we left off, but we'll... That sounds good. I'm not on the lunch portion of my day yet. So for me, it's just this coffee. So ran in Wakfina. Not somebody, me. Oh, good God. This is, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but it's not great. This happens to us, it hasn't happened to us in years. Mostly because I don't go out to bars anymore. But there have been a couple friends who have gotten so drunk that they just like left without paying their bar tab. And then it becomes incumbent on us, the remainder, to pick up said tab. Because we want to keep a good relationship with that bar. Dalen, you have a good sleep. And left the unpaid bill for his tea behind, too. I need the receipt for reimbursement. I must catch up with father at the telegraph office at once. Already calls the cab, straight away! There was me, thinking everyone would be clamoring to pay Mr. Sholm's bill. You idiots. Okay, maybe if we just walk away. Oh, fun thing happened. Fuck, what was I what was the... Somebody made, wax figure reference, like the real life one, not two spells, but who she's based on, over the weekend, and I was like, I know who that is! Because I know her, like, caricature version. Not even, she's just a parody version. I didn't nerd out, because nobody would have known what I was talking about, but inside I was like, yeah. This is the word where Mr. Vigil was brought, apparently. To be frank, I'm a little worried about seeing him again. Fuck, what was my voice for him? Shit, I really liked it. It did, yes. Well, no, it didn't get fixed. We had to completely replace it. But it's working again. God, what the fuck was his voice? I hate when I have to do this. Sorry. You know, this is actually a really subtle change in the voice I generally do. So it's, God, I gotta get a feel for it again. Yo, what's up, CJ? Just general sickness? Hopefully nothing too bad. Well, you got COVID recently, didn't you? Or am I thinking of somebody else? I was gonna say, hopefully it's not that then. Also low vibe. Ah, the lawyer. Hello again. Are you feeling better now, Mr. Vigil? Yes, thank you. Somewhat better. I'm so sorry to have caused you to, it was because of me. I had exposed your secret and forced you to remember things you'd obviously tried to forget. The prosecutor was here until a few moments ago, too. You just missed him. Oh, Cosmo beat us to it. He said much the same as you. He was very apologetic. But the truth is, I brought all this upon myself. Please, don't think like that. Actually, it's true, though. Keeping it from Evie, my wife. All these years, I've carried such a sense of guilt. But that's not the worst of it. Over time, I obviously came to deceive myself as well. You mean about your dismissal? Looking back now, I'm beginning to think that perhaps Inspector Gregson didn't stumble across me by accident at all. He compensated me so generously for acting as his stand-in. He was clearly concerned for my well-being and doing what he could to help. Perhaps Gregson knew exactly what had become of Mr. Vigil all along, then. You had coffee by accident? Explain. I'm curious. I'm sure this is just desserts for 10 years of lies and deception, but it wasn't me that helped the professor escape 10 years ago. It wasn't me. I swear it. I swear it's true. Oh, Mr. Vigil. I'm sure you'd rather not dredge up even more from your past at this time, but if possible, could you tell us exactly what really happened? I want to. I need to get this off my chest. I just want someone to tell me what I should have done. Like, I say it is just desserts, but you're right. Is desserts, isn't it spelled with 2 S's? But I also think dog is right in that that's how it's spelled, which means it would be just deserts. But that's not how anybody says it. Wait. So why did you drink it? Send it back, dude. This isn't what I ordered. Why do they spell it the French way, but just the normal way? Just Deserts. The new hit indie band. They have a banjo. Ah, like a desertion. Okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot more sense. I never understood what the fuck just desserts was supposed to mean. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've misspelled it then several times in the past. Inspector Gregson was obviously engaged in a special operation of some sort. He was investigating something that even Scotland Yard couldn't know about. Details of the Reaper's marks, yes. It was when he had to carry out those investigations that I would take his identification and impersonate him. You pretend to be the inspector and carry out investigations on his behalf? Oh no, never. A common street peddler couldn't possibly carry out a proper police investigation. All I would do is go to the specified location and make a little hoo-ha. Just something to leave an impression so everyone there would think a detective called Gregson was here. It was in a McDick's at the Icon. What? That's an interesting voice, but I don't think I can do it. Oh, so you couldn't send it back. I see. That makes sense. That sucks. Well, why'd you drink it? If you have such an adverse reaction to it. McRichards, the most lion-hearted of all the eateries. Good old McRichards. Deserved reward or punishment. That makes sense. Sunk cost fallacy indeed. If I get some, there was a. I ordered. This might have actually been on stream, or like right after stream. I ordered some food from a place, and they had something called like a Hulk Shake, Incredible Hulk Shake, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. So I paid like $6 for it. No, I think it was $4.99. So $5 for it. I got it, tasted like garbage. You better believe I threw that shit out. Like, whoop, good old water. So that's what you were doing on the day prior to the incident? Yes, he asked me to make an appearance at the park at Lime Street for the Red-Headed League event. So as usual, I flashed the inspector's identification around and was very vocal about my presence. But then you were taken prisoner by those red-headed fraudsters! Yes. So, you would always make a point of showing Gregson's identification and generally being loud? That's what the inspector asked me to do, yes. Well, that's one way of becoming a legendary detective, I suppose. Not a good one, though. So we went from McDonald's to McDick's to McRichards to McRitchie. McRich. I know I like McDonald's more than the average person. I actually enjoy getting McDonald's. It's not that the food I eat the food and I'm like, oh, it's so good. There's just I never have a bad experience. Although I do feel that way when I drink their Coca-Cola. Their Coke is the best Coke. Yo, what's up, Yolk? Yeah, he would. I don't know if we know. I know a lot of people here know what Tim Hortons is, but I don't know if we actually have Tim Hortons. Canada's basically an extension of Maine. They target the McDonald's fries specifically because McDonald's has, even though you're right, Halucha, and that's usually the reason people get McDonald's. McDonald's is known for their fries, like, at least in terms of like a general consensus in that it's a very good fast food fry. For a long time, that's like, it's McDonald's fries. I don't give a shit about anything else, just I want McDonald's fries. So Wendy's is still trying to target that top spot to get that into your head so that maybe your attitude towards it starts shifting. So maybe I just get Wendy's when I'm close. Canada's northern Maine. Maine is really the powerhouse of the United States in terms of like the power that one state has compared to the rest. Wendy's, yeah, our Wendy's chains don't serve poutine. Though the Wendy's, that would be interesting though. Instead we get baked potato with cheese sauce, which is better than it sounds. Wendy's problem for me is that I really don't like their meat. It's like always fresh, but that gives it an actual like kind of weird taste. And their chicken is generally good, but like recently, by recently I mean like the last 10 years, I'd say, every time I've gotten the chicken, it always has like those weird fatty parts that like, or like 20% of the chicken is just some hard fat piece, and it's like, so I just kind of stopped going there. That they always took for fucking ever. It's like the longest fast food. I could get a faster meal from Culver's, which is like high-end fast food. Oh, you have the potato too. Okay, then yeah. Then you just have things we don't. every McDonald's you have, fries you have are terrible. Well, that's the thing. Like I said, part of my thing is that I just don't have bad experiences going to McDonald's, but I know other people do. Sometimes they'll get fries that are cold. They'll get fries that are super soggy. They'll get fries that are just like old and have that old fry taste. So like, I get it. I could definitely see somebody having the exact opposite experience that I've had. Yo, what's up, Tom? Why? Oh, that's right. Because the class is different. That makes sense. So, how often do they test you? Is it like every 2 weeks, or is it just twice during that period? Hope you did well. I think KFC's good. I mean, it's still a fast food chain, but I like KFC. Again, maybe just because I've only had good experiences. That Famous Bowl? Oh, God. Wish they'd just come back with the popcorn chicken, though, and stop fucking around with this, like, weird popcorn chicken nugget hybrid. Poutine's really good, though, but yeah, we have to go to, like, a pub to get one of those. I don't know. Go for it, though. You never know. Okay, that's interesting. Did you have a fact pattern? Or is it more like reiterating principles? Or like through like multiple choice? In fact, okay, that's good because that's what most of your exams are going to be. Good to get that going right away. So for those that don't know, law school exams, generally how they're all structured, not all of them are like this. Some professors do other stuff, and I actually hate when, like, my contracts professor had a multiple choice test. Everybody hated that shit. Now, you might think multiple choice, that actually sounds way better than an essay question. Well, not really. Especially when some of the whole point is to be able to argue something. The great thing about issue spotting is that you could potentially get extra points, or get points that you normally wouldn't, because your answer isn't technically what the professor was looking for. But the professor might be like, wow, you've convinced me. That's a really solid argument. So, multiple choice doesn't give you that ability. So for law students, multiple choice is the fucking worst. But anyways, what they do is they give you a fact pattern. They're like, Susie went to do this, and then Mike did this, and then they got into this, and then they lost this, and then, but this was done, and blah, 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 blah. And then you have to, what you're encouraged to do is write issue here, issue here, issue here, issue here. It's called issue spotting. To pick out all the different problems. So you get all the, you try to pick out all the problems from the prompt. And then answer the question. Like, because the question itself is generally very broad, because you're expected to talk about multiple different things. Some exams just have one fact pattern. Some will give you like several, so you're not just like doing one thing the entire time. No, yeah, tort is... I mean, in the most basic terms, think of tort as, like, personal injury. It's not just personal injury, but just, if you think about it that way, you're mostly right. I do not, but if you want to give it to them, that's fine. It's Friday, Tom. I don't want a fact pattern. But yeah, feel free to share it with the chat if you want. I've gotten single question tests, yeah. I can't remember which classes they were. Oh, my patent law class, the one so it's like a big deal to get an A+ in a curved grading scale, which is usually what law school is. Because you only give out one. So it's really like coveted to get that A+, because you want to be the one that had the highest score. Like, you're recognized as having the highest score in whatever class. Well, I got my fair share of A's. I only got one A+, and that was in patent law. And that was a one question test. All right, sorry, let's get back. And as you know, I suffered this bruising around my neck at their hands. But the following day, they kept their word and released me. Without returning the inspector's identification to you, however. We had arranged to meet in the Fresno Street room at 5 that day so I could report back to the inspector. But at the agreed time, that's when I heard the gunshot. True or false? Yeah, flip a coin. You win the flip, you're an expert. It was at midnight on 17th June, 10 years ago. That was the time scheduled for the execution. The problem that I have with one question test, personal problem, not like an objective, oh, I think this is why they shouldn't be done sort of thing. Just a personal issue I have with one question test is that I will generally have a tendency to overthink because I'm thinking about the same fact pattern and writing this for the same fact pattern the entire time. I guarantee you there were some tests like that where I could have done better had I not rethought what I was doing. But because you have so long to think about, linger on one question, that's more likely to happen if you have that issue. Hate kittens become number one. Don't step on them, though. People frown upon that. But the professor's execution never actually took place, did it? Or rather, the execution itself must have been used to effect the plan of escape. I don't know, personally. Just look at kittens and they're just so... What my dog is doing. But that's the thing, even if I did it that way, in the course of writing, I would often, rethink what I was doing. You have to, train yourself to not do that. At least for test taking. Oh my god, that's quite the multiple choice test. I hardly dare to imagine what a chilling plan it was. We got most of our test time was 3 hours. Or is it 2 hours? No, I think it was 3 hours. I think it was 3 hours. It's been 8 years now. I don't remember. Barclay was renowned for being the highest security prison in the country. Everything that went in or out of the place was searched multiple times. But there was one notable exception, or rather, one notable loophole. Something that was never questioned. I have a feeling I know what that loophole was now. The coffins into which the bodies of the executed convicts were placed, correct? Yes. Once the coroner had confirmed the death of a condemned convict, the body was taken in its coffin for immediate burial in Lowgate Cemetery, just behind the prison. I don't like the idea of professors punishing students for not going to review classes. Most of our professors would specifically say, like, hey, we're going to have a review class. If you think you got it down or you prefer to study on your own, that's fine. You don't have to come. We want you to do like what you think is best for you. Not trying to force them into like your ideal of what they should be doing. Because not everybody does things the same way. Chief Warder first had to sign the necessary papers. And after that, no mention of staff was permitted. And after that, no member of staff was permitted to touch the coffin containing the body again. Yeah, I mean, they're not there to babysit you. They're there to give you knowledge. If you want to take it, great. If not, you're wasting your own damn money. Now, I will say one thing about that, Tom. I won't go into it. Because, again, fact matter. But one interesting thing there is that when it comes to intrusion, privacy, all that stuff, California is not unique, but it's more, I don't want to say complex either, because that's not the case. California is very tailored for its citizenship and business. So their laws in regards to that type of stuff tend to be different than in other states. Intense is a good word for it, yeah. When executions took place, only the executioner and the coroner were permitted inside the chamber. I would wait in the adjacent room for word that the condemned convict was dead. On that occasion, once I had that confirmation, I went into the mortuary to find a lone coffin as usual. Oh, did they, like, give actual... Oh, no, they didn't. Okay, so just, it's that they took the photo, The first is not because they're there, they're just open or whatever. But the second one was because they actually, it was closed, so it was then meant to be like, that's the closure of your ability as somebody who's not the owner of that laptop to go in and retrieve that information. You made an affirmative act to go and break that seal, so to speak. So yeah, that makes sense. And a cup was on top. Right, so there's an extra level of, not security, but it's like an extra level of, you are not allowed to look at this at my laptop. It's still their property and their personal information. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, and that's exactly why the fact pattern tests were so good. Like, you could still do well even if you came up with an answer that the professor themselves would not have had. But if you argued well enough, you'd still get a good grade. Oh, always include the counter arguments. That makes that's like one of the main differences between the most solid argument and a very weak argument. Which is interesting because, like, those aren't at all, like... Obviously, they're very different things. The procedure was that I would sign the paperwork having checked the coffin, then nail it shut. What are you, 12? If they didn't have their if they didn't keep it password protected, then obviously they didn't care. If somebody, the coffee, the laptop was just the best place to put the coffee down on. Isn't that what you do? Put coffee cups on your electronics? Oh. But for some reason that day the coffin was already nailed shut. No! I didn't think anything of it at the time. Astronomical circumstance is very, indeed it is. That's a Simpsons joke. It was I don't remember the episode, but they're like, I refer you to the ancient case of finders versus keepers or some shit like that. Yeah, and so they went in and opened the coffin. Was that intrusion? Tom's thing. I can't talk. Didn't think anything of it at the time. I assumed that my deputy must have checked the coffin and nailed it shut before I arrived. So, you mean the coffin contained... Yes. I can only imagine that Asogi, having escaped his execution somehow, was alive inside the coffin. The coffin was then taken out through the main gates and deposited in Lowgate Cemetery. Presumably, there wouldn't have been enough air inside to breathe for long. So in the early hours following the burial, somebody dug up the coffin again to set Genshin free. But in the end, he was fatally shot in the graveyard anyway. What on earth really happened in Lowgate Cemetery that night, I wonder? I'm afraid I don't really know. All I can say with certainty are two things. Asogi couldn't possibly have escaped that way without help from somebody working in the prison. And that somebody was not me. Obviously, you knew the man then? The professor, I mean. Genshin Asogi. Yes, I remember him well, in fact. Would you mind telling us what you know? Well, having been condemned to death as he was, any contact I had with the man was short, obviously. After that trial, which was carried out behind closed doors, attended only by elite members of the judiciary, they called for his execution to be carried out at the earliest possible opportunity. The outcome of the trial was set from the beginning, wasn't it? Is this fucking Cardassia Prime? It was a time of delicate diplomacy, when Britain and Japan were in the process of signing an important treaty. That meant that his potentially destabilizing case had to be dealt with swiftly and discreetly. The man had less than a week in total. As I was the chief warder, I oversaw his short stay in the cells until his final hour. I remember being struck deeply by his noble character and incredible resilience. What do you mean exactly? He was a killer of many men, but he was always quiet and polite. He was a gentleman and a man of intellect. In fact, I couldn't bring myself to believe what he'd done, so I asked him one day. Those 5 members of the aristocracy whose lives were taken, are really responsible. I'm guilty of the unforgivable crime of ending another human's life, yes. The following day, the closed trial took place, and the verdict was no surprise. Guilty! What's up, Trep? That night, when he was brought back to his cell, I saw something. Something unusual. Something unusual? What? The last will and testament of Genshin Asogi. That's unusual? As I said, it was on the night following his trial, after he'd been found guilty. I was doing the rounds of the cells, and when I looked into Asogi's, I noticed that he seemed to have a sheet of paper in his hand. Ah, his last will and testament then, presumably. As soon as he noticed me, he hurriedly shoved it behind his back. But why did you find that so unusual? Is it normal for a man to pen a will when he knows his death is nigh? Yes, that's true, but there were special conditions to Asogi's incarceration, you see. What sort of conditions? Well, even though he was held in a cell designed for condemned inmates, he was allowed to keep his personal effects with him, with one exception. Really? He was allowed his things? That is unusual, certainly. Of course, he'd been convicted of killing 5 members of the aristocracy, but at the same time, he was a guest in our country from the Empire of Japan. The powers that be were determined that his final days shouldn't be needlessly uncomfortable. And what was the exception you mentioned to the personal effects he was allowed? That's the point. He wasn't permitted to have writing materials. Specifically, no pens or paper. So, he was prevented from leaving any written record of what had happened to him? Yes, that was the long and short of it. I have no idea where he'd obtained that paper. Any writing materials would have been confiscated from him upon his incarceration. As I said, he hid the paper behind his back and then he pleaded with me. What did you just hide behind your back? Please, turn a blind eye. This is my lifeline. But you know it's against the rules. You're the only person who's seen. You just agree to keep quiet. Alright then. But what's on that paper? Last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. How can a will be a weapon? So I decided to pretend I'd seen nothing, and I let him keep his will. But then later, Indeed, vibe. Indeed. It just seemed to vanish without a trace. What? What do you mean it vanished? It would seem that is at the end of the story of this mysterious will. Yeah, no shit, Susan. I was the only person who saw Asogi's will, but somehow it disappeared. It was after Asogi's execution. Which was actually an elaborate jailbreak! The warders gathered up Asogi's possessions that were in his cell. They were all to be sent back to his family home in Japan, you see. Poor Kazuma-sama. And you're saying that it wasn't anywhere to be found among his personal effects? The will, I mean? That's right. Though I didn't search through them myself. But Governor Caden was livid. He was screaming, it cannot have disappeared completely. That doesn't quite make sense, though, does it? In what way? Well, we'd understood that only Mr. Vigil was aware of the will's existence. In which case, how did the prison governor know to look for it? Oh yes, you're right. I really don't know how he knew, but it certainly seemed as though he knew of the will's existence from the outset. Only he didn't refer to it as a will. What he said was, the Asogi papers. Asogi papers. I really can't tell you anything of the subsequent events. Because, well, of what happened. Your dismissal and the way you blocked it all from your memory. I'd forgotten all this until today. I don't suppose it's relevant to the case, though. Well, anyway, thank you very much for sharing it with us, Mr. Vigil. We're very grateful. I'm afraid there's really little more I can tell you. My wife Evie will be here shortly, so I do hope I don't appear rude, but... No, not at all. Thank you again. What will become of you now? Well, impersonating a police officer is a criminal offense, of course. Imagine that once I'm fully recovered, I shall be arrested. I'm so sorry. Don't be, please. This was all my own doing. I always knew that this day would come. Well, I wish you well. Goodbye, Mr. Vigil. Ah! Before you go, there's just one more thing. Oh, yes? What is it? The Asogi papers. I'd be very grateful if you'd make no mention of the things I told you about them. Presumably for some good reason. It's my understanding that their very existence is a closely guarded secret. If it became known that I'd remembered, well, it could be rather troublesome, I think. I understand. Sort of will that Genshin Asogi penned just before his death, which the man himself claimed was his last weapon. I wonder. Perhaps it had something to do with his plan to escape. Is anyone who might know more about a document that Kazuma-sama's father left behind? It would be Mr. Vigil's governor! Then we know precisely where we must go. Back to Barclay Prison. Oh god. Okay. I have a feeling I'm going to follow a similar pattern. Initially it's going to suck, but... Yeah, right? I mean, unless Ryu just said that as like a, sure, we won't tell anybody. Okay, yeah, fucking this guy. Ah, back again, are you? Yes, hello. I've heard all about your investigations. I read the report just now. You found me, Vigil. Yes, luckily. Well, anywho, the laddie does not work here no more, so your case is not to do with Barkley. I wouldn't like you to get the wrong idea about that. Of course, yes, Mr. Vigil stopped working here 10 years ago now, so... Yes, we've seen his dismissal notice, haven't we? He was given the chop. Aye, Kimmer. You can very well. So how about we handcuff biscuits? Oh, they really are like little handcuffs. And as hard as irons, too. Look. So, what's brought you down here today? Here the day, oh God. What's brought you down here today? Well, there's something we'd like to ask you about, actually. Is that so? We believe there might have been a document that disappeared from Genshin Asogi's cell. I think it's been called the Asogi Papers or something. I don't know. Spitballing here. It would appear his neck is made of chin. Classic Ryan. Yeah, she's just like, you fucking fired him. I mean, I don't know what you would have called it, but I probably would have called it the Asogi Papers. Dude, just throw the coffee at him and run. Did I not say, Gregson's death is not to do with things that might have happened at Barkley. Leave the past in the past, laddie. Let's not fool about irrelevant details. The expression changed completely. We're clearly onto something here. Whenever he's nervous, he combs his hair. That murderer's botched execution, and the whole miserable escape. They were Barkley's darkest hour, aye. A shocking embarrassment. Because the conflict had a collaborator on the prison staff, you mean? Aye, for shame. The coroner who confirmed the death of the man after his execution, Courtney Scythe, and my chief warder at the time, Vigil, who was in charge of the whole affair. Mr. Vigil says he didn't know anything about it. The rascal wouldn't say otherwise, eh? More handcuffs? Oh, how could I say no? You can never have too much iron in your diet. Is that true? Not that it's obviously really a thing here, because they're cookies, but Mr. Vigil was handed his dismissal notice as a result of what had happened. He was so despairing, he jumped out of your office window, didn't he? I didn't like to say, but that's just Vigil trying to get out of it. Do you not think he wouldn't have jumped from the shock of his crimes being exposed, eh? I do. You wouldn't have say otherwise, though, would you? Of course. A kid is shun all responsibility myself. I shouldn't have let him deceive me. Actually, there's barely anybody that kins what went on at that time now. With Gregson having been murdered, Dr. Scythe forbidden from having any visitors. No visitors? Someone obviously doesn't want her giving anything away. Well, we're not going home empty-handed. I wouldn't have dreamed of sending you packing, would now, Kimmer. Yeah, take a handcuff or two. Oh, well, it would be rude to say no. Wouldn't want to become anemic. Like, with your parents? In your country? Just your general region? Your continent? What do you mean? Okay, so you can definitely have too much iron. You want some iron, but not too much. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Like, what time period? I suppose if there's anybody who might still care about what happened back then, it'd be that lass from the forensics division, Maria Gory. Maria Gory? Aye, Scythe's daughter. She didn't have no more. Just the one. But the wee bairns followed in her man's footsteps. You didn't ever see her without a scalpel in her hand. Yeah, this is the person that literally wanted to kill us. For sport. Science. This is the, oh my god. I forgot what voice I gave her. I think I might have to give her a new one, though. Who did I give the... fuck, what's her name? From Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Veruca? Who did I give that voice to? That wasn't her, was it? What's mommy? I want to cut him now! Now! Veruca Salt, yeah. Who the hell did I give that voice to? Did I give her that voice? Okay, because if that's the case, I'm gonna keep it. Dr. Scythe's daughter, Maria Gory. We could do with talking to her. Could we? Could we, though? So, she's Dr. Scythe's daughter. That clock is a guillotine, yes. That's pretty fucking crazy, isn't it? So she's Dr. Scythe's daughter, but her surname is Gory? Aye, there's some family history, I'm sure, but I didn't ken the ins and outs of it. She grew up watching her man working with the bodies of folk who died in strange circumstances, and decided to do the same with her own life. I cannot understand it myself. Perhaps she was driven by a deep respect for her mother. Perhaps. Anywho, she was in charge of Gregson's autopsy, I believe. Right, the coroner responsible for this incomplete report. Someone told me once that there was that the wee lass. Someone told me once that the wee lassie always loved her mom's stories about cutting up bodies. There's even a rumor that she used to listen to the funeral march as a lullaby. What's the only thing that's missing from her fucking office is a pentagram circle. Oh, then perhaps her mother might have told her about the autopsy from the case 10 years ago. It really does. I'd say there's a fighting chance at least. After all, there was a life-changing... After all, that was a life-changing case for all of us. We really need to speak to Miss Gory herself about this, I think. Well, thank you very much. I'm not happy about any part of this. It took years for Londoners to finally forget the whole professor business. Can you not get up on this, laddie? Stop asking pointless questions. I'm sorry. I don't like dredging up these painful memories for everyone. But I'm gonna do it anyways. Can you not just stay away, no? Leave me alone and then I come back here, eh? Well, we're gonna do this and he's gonna be like, get away. How'd you come to Kenoba? Oh, God. How'd you... How'd you come to ken about that, laddie? There's no many folk even here in the prison who've heard of those papers. Ah, well, I can't tell him Mr. Vigil told me. I'm afraid our source must remain confidential, sir. Oh, yeah, that really helps. Great answer. Been led to believe the papers are actually a last will and testament. Is that right? The professor's, or rather, Genshin Asogi's. Aye, that's right. You're well informed, Jimmy. Oh, is that the end of the silent treatment? Then after the convict's execution, it mysteriously vanished from his cell, didn't it? Heavens no! You're off at half cock there. I think you didn't quite get your facts straight. Was there in the cell exactly what it should have been? Oh, not what we heard elsewhere. Let me just have a wee hawk around here. Around in here, I'm sure I can find it. Aye, here you are. See? The last will and testament of Genshin Asogi, written with the calligraphy brush. Well, it's like, can I read a word of those Japanese squiggles? But on mine it says he leaves all his worldly possessions to his son back in his homeland. Yes, that's correct. That's the gist of it. So those are the Asogi papers? Aye, of course they are. Paper is written by Asogi, naive doubt about it. There's no mystery here, laddie. That's your lot. After all the stramish of that slicer of an execution. Slicer? That sounds like a brutal word. We sent the man's possessions back to his clan in Japan. And that was the end of it. I think we ought to make a record of this, Mr. Naruhodo, just in case. One thing before you go on your way, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Those papers are not to do with Gregson's death. I'd prefer it if you didn't make no mention of them outside this office, or rather, I wouldn't just prefer it. Consider it an order from the highest levels of our government. I understand. Wink. I do not wish to examine stuff. A mess. Slicer. Might use that today. Yeah, it's a very harsh word. No arguments, prosecutor Asogi. You will continue the trial exactly as I instructed. Is that clear? Perfectly. It's Kazuma-sama. Defying Lord Strongheart by the sound of it. Never did know when to back down. I mean, he is sitting there with two swords. I'd feel the power throbbing through my dick too. Fuck you, Lord Strongheart. Ha ha ha. You're fired. Oh. Well then. On your way now, Asogi. My lord. Oh, I'm sorry. Do we just not greet each other now for some stupid reason? Kazuma? Oh, please. I hope he hasn't gone to Kirito level. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, exactly. Not sure if that's an upgrade or a downgrade. He left without saying a word. How rude. Yes, what are you doing here? Oh, I was just hoping to ask you a few questions if you wouldn't mind. I wanted Van Zeek's trial concluded today, but Prosecutor Asogi's unwelcome inquiries are going to make it take longer than necessary. Unwelcome inquiries. As a result, I'm losing even more precious time. Currently 2 hours, 55 minutes, and 41 seconds. 42, 43. Then we must resolve everything before 3 hours have passed, Mr. Naruhodo. Miraculous. Not even 5 minutes? Anyway, I can't let the man's obvious bad mood put me off. I need information. Well, let's just get straight to it then. These! Nope. For my dad. Does Prosecutor Asogi believe that Lord Van Zieks is the Reaper? I wouldn't know! It was 10 years ago in that fateful closed trial that Lord Van Zieks made a name for himself among the judiciary. But the next trial he fought, he lost. Meant that ringleader of a criminal organization was acquitted thanks to all the jurors being under duress. That's awful. Man's freedom was short-lived. It lasted just 3 days. Yes, let me see. He died in a rock slide at his place of work, I believe. Correct. That was the inauguration of the Reaper of the Bailey. People believe Lord Van Zieks was responsible? He was brought to trial himself, but it was shown to have been an accident. They must have had a solid alibi then. Nevertheless, the mysterious deaths continued. He could have had too solid of an alibi if it actually went to trial. In total, 16 persons perished in unusual circumstances, ostensibly at the hand of the Reaper. A shonky shank. There you go. That's a long run of coincidences. Well, the Reaper's true identity may well be revealed by this trial. The impact that revelation would have on the British public cannot be understated. Is that why it's a closed trial? Precisely! This country hasn't seen a closed trial for 10 years. So the last one was the professor's? The trial of Genshin Asogi? Correct? Actually, we heard that originally. You were going to prosecute that trial yourself, Lord Strongheart. Van Zieks entreated me to relinquish the prosecution to him, that he might avenge his brother's death. And here we are, 10 years later. With the son of the man Van Zieks had condemned now looking to avenge his father's death in the same way. Life's a bitch. They do say that what goes around comes around. However, it would seem that the new young prosecutor is harboring some ulterior motive as well. Cosmo is? I'd like my organization to run smoothly in the exact manner that I prescribe. As with that giant clock in here, I won't tolerate a single cog being out of step with the others. Control freak. Ah, so that's what all these gears are about in here. The young man refuses to mesh with the other parts of my great machine. I'll be forced to take steps. Whoa, what do you mean? Not something with which you need to concern yourself. In any case, all your questions will be answered tomorrow. Now, I shall have to ask you to excuse me. Or yourself. As of this moment, I've been delayed from attending my next meeting by precisely 3 hours. Oh my, that is a long time. And I hold you entirely responsible. Even though we miraculously managed to fit everything in not even 5 minutes? I wonder if you might agree to us, talking with Prosecutor Asogi? Why the hell would I do that? The discussions between the defense and the prosecution outside of the courtroom are generally frowned upon. However, I will make an exception in this case. Now go! You can find him in his office. Frowned upon. Okay. That is not frowned upon here. Oh, thank you. Let's go to see him at once, Mr. Naruhodo. Hazu's my best friend in the world, but really not at all sure I know how to talk to him at the moment. Yeah, I don't care. Let's just go to his office. So, this is the office of Prosecutor Asogi now, is it? Kazuma-sama is doing so well for himself. God. Even though he's always forced to kneel on the floor Japanese style in that dark corner. It's his habit to sit Seiza style whenever he's working. Could you possibly be barking at? Susan's his best friend. He didn't even see it. To focus on his man crush. Kazuma. I thought it wouldn't be long before you paid me a visit, Rinosuke. I was right about what I said, wasn't I? Sorry? That you have all the makings of a great defense lawyer. Well, I always believed that you'd fulfill your dream of advocating in the British courts. Just never imagined for 1 second that it would be as a prosecutor. Seeing you stand in a foreign courtroom, so gallantly realizing your dream, Kazuma-sama, I'm truly happy for you. And I am truly thankful to you, Judicial Assistant Mikotoba. Rinosuke, I always thought it would be fun for you and I to shake up the British legal system a little together. This isn't quite how I envisaged it. This isn't quite how I envisaged it, but suppose it's just another twist of fate. I've learned a lot of things during my time in London, about how Susato-san's father was himself a visiting student here once, along with Judge Jigoku, and about what happened with your father. Then you'll have no difficulty understanding why I have no choice. Why I have to find a way to get to Britain. Why I had to get... First of all, I hate when people say that. I had no choice! Yes, you did. There just wasn't much of a choice in that you want a particular outcome to happen. There's always a choice! Truck-kun shouldn't be in the fucking neighborhood on a Friday. If it is, I'm gonna... Why I had no choice. Why I had to find a way to get to Britain as a visiting student myself. In fact, me and Tone rant about that in one of our recent Last of Us Part 2 episodes. What choice did I have? I believe it's Part 3. I want to hear it from you, Kazuma. As you wish, Rinosuke Naruhodo. Yeah? that is a choice. That is a decision he could make. Just, he could have kept caring, but only stayed in Japan. There are a lot of different avenues here that can be taken. Just one if he really wanted to find out the truth of what happened. At least one known path, like obvious path. It's getting on for a year now, since what happened on the SS Buriga. We're heading across the ocean from Japan to Great Britain. Yeah, we fucking know. I keep going back here. It's the Ace Attorney's bad penchant for having way too many flashbacks that don't add anything, and you already fucking know what's going on. I must have been unconscious for a long time. When I awoke, I was lying on a bed. It was a narrow little room. There was a posy of flowers by the pillar. It took me a little while to realize that I was in the cabin of a ship. I slipped out of the room and headed up onto the deck. You already suffering from amnesia at that point? Yes. I didn't know what had happened or where I was. There was just this voice in my head. You have something you have to do, something no one else can know about. Go to Great Britain. Your task awaits you there. It was a calling I couldn't ignore. It compelled me relentlessly. Out on deck, I saw that I was on a huge steamship, and we were docked in a large port. Must have been Hong Kong. Yes, it must have been. Presumably just before they were due to carry your body off the ship. I had no idea of the situation, but I did have the feeling that this was in some way my last chance. So I concealed myself among the disembarking passengers and went ashore. Then I disappeared into the crowded streets of that foreign port city, so I could plan my onward journey to Great Britain. Just under a year ago, with all my past memories lost to me, I was left behind in Hong Kong. Everything was foreign to me. The sights, the sounds, the smells. My head reeled. I was truly at a loss. I realized now that I'd escaped as a dead man, with nothing but the clothes on my back. No money, of course. Oh, how terrifying for you. Luckily, though, I had 2 feathers in my cap. One being your knowledge of English, I suppose? That's right. And on the back of that, I was able to pick up some work as a deckhand on a cargo ship. Eventually, after calling at countless ports, I finally arrived at Dover. That must have been some 3 months ago now. Your formidable tenacity of purpose showing itself again. I mean, the man had lost his memory and had literally nothing to his name. But he still managed to make his way to London on the opposite side of the world. Of course, I had no idea why I'd moved heaven and earth to get here at that point. So how'd you end up becoming Lord Van Zeek's apprentice then? That can only be called an extraordinary stroke of luck, really. You see, I was stopped at the border because I had no papers. They took me straight to Scotland Yard. By sheer coincidence, Lord Strongheart was there to attend a meeting. That's when the second feather in my cap came into play. Would that have been your knowledge of the law? Yes, exactly. Lord Strongheart was curious about an Easterner with intimate knowledge of British law. He took me back with him to the Supreme Court and assigned me to the prosecutor's office. And then 9 days ago... Well, he was working as a deckhand. I don't think he didn't necessarily, like, disembark. I mean, he could have. It's like he was actually trying to get into Britain. As opposed to just being a sailor on the port. You finally got your memory back after the trial involving Trep. Yes, I did. Ever since I first met you at Yume, you talked about your dream. Did you know the entire time about what happened to your father here? 16 years ago. When my father left on that exciting trip to Great Britain, I was just a boy. We took a photograph together the day before his departure. It's my last memory of him. But what I remember most about my father is his unswerving sense of justice. Hey Retro, I very much am. Yes, thank you. I have a newfound appreciation for it. 6 years after he left, a gentleman called at our family home. He told me that Genshin, my father, had been taken ill in England and passed away. It was Professor Mikotoba, your father, Susato-san. Oh my! Ever since then, the professor was very good to me. He even helped me to fund my university education at Yume. I'll be forever in his debt. But nevertheless, I just couldn't bring myself to believe what he told me. Oh. Then one day, a letter arrived at our house from Britain. There was no indication of the sender, so I opened it assuming it was from an old acquaintance of my father. What I read in that letter changed my entire life. What did it say? It said that my father had been a mass murderer, and the writer cursed the Asogi name. Oh no! As a result of that letter, I found out what had been hidden from me all those years. Imagine somebody kills your relative and you write a letter to the murderer's family as though they had any part in what happened. Or that it would do anything. Grief, I know, grief's a bitch and it can make people do things that a reasonable human being would not. I mean, if you're to go and kill Kazuma, at least you're going eye for an eye there. Not that I'm not condoning it in the slightest, but like just sending a letter to the family saying, curse you all. What the fuck does that do? It seems like a waste of time. Yeah, Amir, we were wondering what you meant by I don't want to be here anymore. Is it where you were specifically? Your country? Your house? Your region? Your continent? Earth? The Milky Way? Also, welcome back, Tom. Presumably, the letter was sent from a relative of one of the victims. If whoever it was had been a member of the judiciary, he could have been present at the closed trial. The letter revealed that my father had been sentenced to death, executed for being a killer. That 1 square foot. Tired of this place. I'm so sorry you had to find out that way. I imagine the British government did its very best to silence whoever sent that letter. Someone who knew the truth and couldn't bear the resentment was always going to be a problem. But still, it could have been written by anyone. Why would you believe such a thing? There was a newspaper cutting included with the letter. It was the first I'd ever heard of the professor and his terrible killing spree. Well, what did my father have to say about the letter? I couldn't bring myself to show it to him. What? Why not? Because he deliberately concealed the truth from me by telling me my father was taken by a fatal illness. That couldn't have been easy for him, and he'd done it out of consideration for my feelings. So instead, I showed the letter to Judge Jigoku. To the other visiting student. He faltered for the briefest of moments, but then he just laughed the letter off. But in that moment, I saw it on his face. He was undeniably shocked, shaken momentarily before recovering his poise. A year later, my bereaved mother succumbed to the strain of grief, and she too passed away. That sounds so horrible. Like, you die because you just lose your will to live, and your body's just like, your body reacts to it. That's when I made up my mind that one day, without fail, Hallelujah, I would cross the seas to Britain and seek the truth for myself. The truth about my father, Genshin Asogi. And I wouldn't let anyone stand in my way. Oh, Kazuma-sama. Alright, I'm gonna try something real quick. Before I forget. Otherwise I'll forget to do this. Oh wait, can I do it here? No, I can't do it on this window. Okay, that's interesting. It could mean that, but like you hear it in fiction. Where people say die from grief, and they don't mean that they committed suicide, they just lose the will to live. They don't take care of themselves, and then they just die from whatever. But that could be what's implied here. But otherwise, yeah, it's like what Tom says. Like the stress of it or whatever. What are they censoring? Well, they didn't censor God fucking damn it, that's for sure. At least I mean, it might not be on Top Chat, but I see it on Live Chat. What we learned today in court turned things completely on their head. Okay. So this is a weird, I admit, I'm being weird. That's a very common law phrase. Like outside of Phoenix Wright. I know it's been on a lot. You've heard this sort of thing fairly often in the Phoenix Wright franchise in general. I hate that saying. Turn it on its head. It just sounds so fucking stupid to me. At least the way Phoenix Wright does is like turnabout. Like that I like. But turn it on its head, I always like internally roll my eyes when somebody says that. It's like, that's one of Law's, like, it's not meaningless because it still does mean something, but like the amount of the frequency in which it is used has diminished its like impact. I would be all for if we change it to how the turns have tabled. It was an impressive piece of lawyering, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Lord Van Zeeks isn't the Reaper. Lord Van Zeeks isn't the Reaper, you know. I almost don't want to believe it myself, but it turns out that Inspector Gregson himself, the victim, was. It's clear that the Inspector was behind the Reaper's activity all along. What? You mean you knew? The real question is, who's been giving orders to the Inspector? Yes, Barrick Van Zeeks is the real Reaper. And I know that 10 years ago, it was him who decided my father must be a mass murderer and sent him to his grave. No, he was merely saying that justice was done as the law dictates. He's not to blame. Ultimately, it's people who condemn people. Law is just a tool that they use to do it. And when a man condemns another, he must take responsibility for his actions. Of course he must. But I know for certain that my father would never have taken another man's life. Kazuma. On the contrary, my father's life was taken by the Reaper. How the abouts have turned! Yeah, okay, that makes no goddamn sense. That he has nothing to say about that? I guess we're not supposed to show anybody. I feel like I'm missing something here. That doesn't seem like that would be the end of the conversation. No, I don't, but I don't know what else to fucking show him. Alright, we're just gonna go through. This came up in trial, didn't it? It's something a little dubious, I mean. The fact that no time of death was recorded on Inspector Gregson's autopsy report. Yes, there was some unexpected turns in the courtroom earlier. The suggestion you came up with certainly took everyone by surprise. The idea that the victim died the previous day at some other location is quite something. I'm glad you look at it in a positive light, Tom, because I, at only 35, am struggling with my own mortality right now. That is interesting, though. I know we had our, like, generally speaking, the oldest people in our incoming classes would be in their 40s. Even a guy in his 50s, I think. Yeah. Yo, what's up, Mr. Dominguez? The idea that the victim died the previous day at some other location is quite something. Well, considering when the pocket watch had stopped and the scorch marks on the candle, it's certainly a distinct possibility. The evidence in the scene both point to it. To be honest, it bothered me too, so I paid a visit to the autopsy room earlier. The coroner responsible wasn't there, but I got a name. It's Dr. Gory. If it wouldn't trouble you, Kazuma-sama, I'd very much like to speak with the coroner too. Of course. The last thing I want is for anything to be brushed under the carpet. Scotland Yard's autopsy laboratory is behind Lowgate Cemetery. Lowgate's by Barclays Prison, you mean? Haven't we been there already? Ah, you know it, do you? The prison where my father was incarcerated and robbed of his life. Yeah! Didn't we just have a whole trial about this? Yo, what's up, Ringworld? Oh, going at like 2 times speed and then suddenly I start talking slower. These bits of dialogue I still will never understand in games. Like, yes, we know that you know that we know. This is part of your whole regaining your memory thing. Oh, you know it, do you? Like that trial with Trevor just didn't happen. God. The prison where my father was incarcerated and robbed of his life. Kazuma-sama. Well, thank you. We'll pay a visit to the laboratory later today. Rinosuke, I want to thank you. What for? Yeah, I guess that's true, Tom. He doesn't know that you know that he knows that you know that he knows that you know. For this, you safeguarded the soul of the Asogi clan. Well, it is a famous sword that's been in your family for generations. My only slight regret is that I never got the chance to draw it before I returned it to you. What? My only regret is that I didn't get to try to slash it at somebody before I gave it back to you. Karuma is said to have been forged by a master swordsmith during the Sengoku Warring States period. I come from a long lineage of warriors, many of whom were expert swordsmen. That'd be funny though if like he takes his sword out and he has no fucking idea what to do with it. Looks super awkward. I didn't actually practice swordsmanship myself, I just thought it'd be cool to walk around with. I have like 6 swords and I hope I never have to use them. Well then, you're a chip off the old block, I'd say. Well, right. The thing is though is that Ryu didn't have an apprenticeship. So like that's the unique part of the situation. Cause like that was more of a thing because you know, you'd be working under somebody, so that would be seen as your schooling. I do have swords. Christen it with crimson. This blade, Karuma, is the symbol of the Asogi clan's honor and might. Apparently, one of my father's apprentices even took the blade's name for a surname. Really? Karuma? Does sound formidable, that's for sure. 16 years ago, when my father was a visiting student here in London, he had this sword forever at his side. Which is why it means so much to me that I have it by my side again now, too. And that is all thanks to you. Ah, okay, great. So then maybe next time you see me in a room outside of this one, you'll say hello instead of being a silent fucking prick about it. Like, what's the point of having him act that way? Can't show friendliness because Strongheart's there? Man, fuck that bullshit. It was an honor. There's nobody overseeing him. So, no, I wouldn't count that as an apprenticeship. Personally. It's still his own, law firm, or law consultation, whatever he calls it. He's not working in the office of the public defender. Well, so he supervises him insofar as he can revoke his license, his ability to practice, but that's really no different from just the Supreme Court being able to do that, or a bar association, I should say. That's more appropriate. Because really, what Ryu does isn't any different than what I did. Private attorney being appointed on cases for specific people by a judge. And that's not an apprenticeship. At least I would argue that's not an apprenticeship. Personally. But then again, it could be that my definition of apprenticeship is not correct. No, I'm thinking of it's not just oversight, but actually working directly under somebody who, you're almost working as more of an assistant initially. An associate attorney. More of an associate attorney, whereas Naruhodo is his own partner. Do you get a bar card? I guess I don't know what it'd be, like provisional or something like that, when you're registered but haven't passed it yet. So yeah, public defenders there's people that work in the public defender's office. It's the public defender's office. And then there are people who work in private practice that take public appointments, like I have. But I didn't do it for criminal. I did it in juvenile court. But it worked very much the same way. You get an email from the judge's clerk saying, hey, this is the client. Run a conflict check. Make sure there's no conflicts. This is the date of the hearing. Is that available? You say yes. They're like, all right, you're the attorney. How long did you say was it 5? Or was it 4? No, it was 5, wasn't it? For the part-time? Now, I have preparations to make for tomorrow. Perhaps I said a little too much. Cosmo, you've changed. I know, I'm buff as fuck now, aren't I? No, Ryunosuke, I haven't changed at all. It's you who's changed. Warriors. Oh, so they won't let you do it. You'd have to wait until the last year to hold? That would kind of suck, to be honest. I can completely understand your resentment of Lord Van Zeeks given what happened. The fact is, those events in this case are, well, unrelated. Is that what you want to say? How can you be so sure? What do you mean? Never mind. That man is the Reaper. It's for that reason that the inspector was killed. I'm going to prove as much in court tomorrow. By whatever means necessary. You're gonna have to draw my blade and cut off your head. I can't let you do that, Cosmo. I know you'll do what you have to as a lawyer, but I'm sure I don't need to tell you that I won't be taking any prisoners in the courtroom. Is that what you would do if you find him guilty? Okay. I would expect nothing less. Until tomorrow, then, in the Old Bailey. Okay, so you can do it in 3. Yeah, this isn't a red flag at all. Nope. Perfectly normal for a coroner's office. This place really is creepy, isn't it? Well, being a dead room, it's probably full of the spirits of the dissected. Why would the spirits follow the body to the coroner's? Okay. But actually, there's a rather pleasing scent of roses in the air. Well, being a dead room, the coroner probably needs a bold scent like that to mask the odor of death. Iris, do you think we could change the subject in the while being in the dead room? That's not a good sign. What? Who's that? Last sounds you hear before death. Ah, Dr. Gory? What? That noise before. I was sharpening my tools. I'd be dead meat if I didn't keep a perfectly keen edge on them. Right. And following the collagen fibers in the dermis. Oh, in the dermis, an expertly sharpened scalpel cuts like cheese. Would you like a demonstration? Oh, yes, please. I'd love to see. Then, I think you'll do nicely. Huh? No! No, I wouldn't do nicely at all. I mean, maybe some other time. Was that a tut? Well, we came here to ask questions, so... What's a butcher's knife? Like, common for coroners at that point? One thing. So no, cleavers were not common? I wouldn't have thought so. We've actually met before. I'm a lawyer, if you remember. I got your mom put in prison.
not dead yet! What? So Mama said I wasn't to cut you open. She's so strict about things like that.
Well, good. Dr. Scythe has some scruples, at least.
Oh dear, it looks like she's not interested in talking to us, for the time being anyway.
Time being? You mean until we die? Sorry, but I wasn't planning on dying anytime soon. Surely there's some less drastic way of making her listen. Dr. Gory, we actually came here to ask you about this.
He was very good.
Oh my lord. Good? Sorry?
His skin didn't snag my blade once, and very little mess. His joints dislocated easily, and his muscle tissue was a pleasure to work with.
We can skip those details! But there's one thing about the report that's caught my attention. You don't seem to have recorded a time of death.
That's not my fault!
Oh, that made me jump.
Then please, tell us what happened.
That's honestly not what I imagined her face to be like. I don't know what it was that I imagined, but it wasn't that. Why doesn't this autopsy report include the victim's time of death, then? It's really the most crucial detail.
I was told not to write it.
What? By whom?
Mal Strongheart, the Lord Chief Justice, he came here.
Lord Strongheart came?
That's what I said. That's what I said. He said that from the witness statements about the gunshot and the other evidence, it was obvious. The man clearly died at 5 p.m. on 1st November, when the gunshot was heard.
That's not the time of death you wrote on the report. You didn't write anything.
Was there some reason you didn't include it?
Dr. Gory, you're hiding something under Lord Strongheart's instructions. And sooner or later, you're going to go to the same... I don't think she's a Lolita. She's an adult, isn't she? Not what I would be saying to the dual-wielding plague doctor, who obviously has a lust for blood and skin. Then sooner or later, you're gonna go the same way as your mother.
Give it here, then.
Hmm? What's she scribbling so furiously?
There.
You've written...
What? What she's written? Tell us!
Indeterminate.
What?
Yeah, I don't really think she's meant to be a Lolita. She looks older. She doesn't really have the Celeste vibe, for example, to me. Yeah, this whole, like, sure, up here, but, like, the whole ensemble, even, like, the way her pigtails aren't really that of a... It doesn't scream like child to me at all. Childlike. This is the time where we wanted the autopsy report to be updated. How ironic! Well, it's not that, it's just the whole vibe of the outfit doesn't scream gothic Lolita. This looks very much like something an adult would wear. Jesus Christ, what? Sorry, 1 second. Success. Yeah. About that. All right, indeterminate. What do you mean by that? Why is the time of death indeterminate?
When the specimen was brought in, it was still fresh. So the time of death could easily have coincided with when the gunshot was heard. But there was one small discrepancy.
What discrepancy?
There was some fried fish in the pocket of the specimen's overcoat. That fish had started to rot.
What?
The victim liked fried fish. He presumably liked to eat it before it went off.
Well, yes. What are you really trying to say?
It's possible that someone tried to manipulate the apparent time of death.
Manipulate the... Is that even possible to do? Okay, this is actually really interesting. Because, like... Doing an autopsy is a sort of investigative work, right? But can you, as the coroner, use something like that to make your determination? Some, like, outside piece of evidence? Like, on their, like, some personal effects? I don't know. That's very interesting, though. Yeah, that'd be, yeah, like, Uma Thurman's character. They can see, that's what I thought. That they could only use the body itself to make that determination. So this is really interesting to me. A case where she is using an outside piece of evidence found as a personal effect on the within the person's apparel to influence her opinion of the time of death. Yeah, that would make sense to me. Like, that's their responsibility. I'll be right back. I have just finished my coffee. My favorite non-caffeinated, Sprecher. Holy shit, really? I didn't realize that honey was a... Maybe they just make it with honey? I don't know. And I don't know what fire brewed means either. What do you mean, like it was different from what the time of death was thought to be? Manipulate the... Is that even possible to do?
Theoretically, if you were to chill the body in ice, you could delay the onset of putrefaction. If the overcoat wasn't on the body at the time, then only the fish would have started to rot. With today's science, it's not yet possible to determine if the body was chilled or not.
But today's science is advanced enough to let you freeze a corpse, it seems.
But surely, to chill a corpse like that would require an enormous electrical refrigerator. I don't imagine many households in London are equipped with such a device. No, definitely not! But maybe in a factory? Or some other special places? I don't recall seeing any factories as such like on Fresno Street, though. I wonder, if the inspector's body had been chilled somehow, what might the actual time of death have been? I couldn't say that for sure. But at the most, it might have been a day earlier.
No!
In other words, it would corroborate your previous deduction, Mr. Naruhodo. Inspector Gregson was killed a day before his body was discovered at a different location.
Did you inform Lord Strongheart of this possibility?
He simply said that there was no electrical refrigerators of that size in the vicinity.
Oh yes, one other thing. It's something that the governor of Barclay Prison told us. He said that your mother, Dr. Scythe, was responsible for confirming the death of the professor after his execution.
The professor?
Apparently, you always enjoyed listening to your mother's stories about her work, so we were wondering if you might know something about what happened 10 years ago.
That's not all Mama did.
Sorry?
My mama carried out the autopsy of Clint Van Zeeks as well.
What? Really? Brother, Lord Van Zeeks, the professor's final victim.
The idea of carrying out an autopsy on a member of the aristocracy was completely unthinkable back then. But the detective in charge of the investigation insisted it was miraculously authorized.
That detective being Inspector Gregson, of course. Quite an accomplishment for one man.
That autopsy provided the vital clue needed to arrest the killer. And Mama was there for that historic event.
What does all this mean?
You know, that amazing autopsy happened right here in this very room. The professor and Clint Van Zeeks. They both spent their final moments before their burial on that dissection table there. So this lab, Mama's lab, was instrumental in some of the country's most important events.
Really is proud of her mother. I wonder if you'd tell us more about exactly what happened back then, Dr. Gory.
Maybe in exchange for a finger or two? The professor's execution was Mama's first big case. She had to be in attendance at Barclay's prison execution chamber and sign the certificate to confirm the convict's death. Mama's the best coroner in the world, you know. I was so proud of her.
But the execution didn't actually take place.
No, and worse still, Mama actually helped with the jailbreak. I didn't want to know.
Oh dear, you found out recently, you mean?
I believed in her, in Mama, but now I wonder if I'm starting down the same path as her.
Wow! I'm not gonna lie, was not expecting that level of introspection from this person with a seemingly childlike persona. You mean because you omitted the time of death on this autopsy report? And that's because Lord Strongheart forbade you from including it?
Just like Mama. I'm sure she was coerced by somebody too.
Yes, that's my feeling as well.
There's no doubt that there were powerful forces at play 10 years ago. The execution couldn't have been staged without a lot of people at the prison knowing about it. Obviously, the prison governor must have been on it as well. Big man with the little handcuffs? According to what he told us, He was tricked by the chief warder. He says he knew nothing about it. Of course he said that. I'd say the same thing.
So who was behind that jailbreak all those years ago? It's a real interesting dichotomy of her character. This child side and this, like, very wise and mature side. Mention the autopsy of Clip Van Zeeks.
It was at a time when carrying out autopsies of murder victims was very unusual.
It's still not a practice that's observed in our country even now, because we suck balls. Like, why would it? I know. Desecrating the dead. I don't want to dismiss that outright, but man, it is very useful to find out information as to the death. Perhaps more intelligent than the average person. She's a doctor at 19, after all. I'm not sure it's just common sense. I'd say, yeah, it'd be a combination of common sense and social interaction. Because, like, it's one thing to talk about, like, mama this and mama that. It's like, you're 19. How are you still, like, talking like that? But then there's also she doesn't understand that it's not okay to just chop up a living person. She earnestly asks those questions. Like, that's more than just that's a common sense thing that she's obviously missing. If I were dead, I'd want you to find a killer. Fuck them. Do whatever you need to with my body. I'm an organ donor anyways.
Turned out that he was the professor's final victim, and when the autopsy was performed, Mama was present, although only as the secondary assistant. The person leading the procedure was called Dr. John H. Wilson. That's right, my daddy! There was one other person present, the primary assistant. He was a visiting student from the Far East.
Wait, a visiting student?
Must have been my father, Eugene Mikotoba.
No idea Professor Mikotoba had been involved in something so important.
The outcome of that historic autopsy was the discovery of a vital piece of evidence that led to the capture of the professor.
That's how they came to identify Genshin Asogi as the infamous mass murderer. Do you happen to know anything about that piece of evidence? Can you tell us any more?
Would you like to see the records for yourself?
What? Would that be alright?
What's the point of keeping records if people can't look at them? They're filed under V at the back of those cupboards, with the other records from the last decade.
I said what I said. Yeah, and that's why I didn't want to feel like I'm shitting on anyone's religion when it comes to that, but like, practically speaking, it just is so useful. But that's the thing, like, I don't, as a Christian, I don't remember, but even if it did say it could affect your, like, dude, it just makes too much sense to not do it. I guess I'll be mangled in the afterlife then. But that doesn't make any fucking sense to begin with. Like, you gotta be able to question the things in your own religion for the betterment of mankind. You have not mentioned that. I don't agree, but as long as you don't say oranges are the best fruit on earth, and I won't disagree. Thank you. Let's see. Van Zeeks. That's strange. What, Mr. Naruhodo? They aren't here. There's nothing under Van Zeeks. There must be! Perhaps somebody took them away? No one's allowed to take documents related to the professor's case out of this room. But you're right, they're gone! Well, when was the last time somebody looked at them? Do you remember? It was... Oh, yes! I remember now. It was 2 years ago. A consulting detective came one day saying that he'd like to see the records. No, you don't mean... Herlock Sholmes
Let
is
the
his name.
show begin!
Fresh avocados, thank you for the sub. The annoying orange? You mean that meme with that? I hated orange long before that was a thing. I think it's just a coincidence that I also hate the color. Well, mind blown. Herlock Sholmes is his name! Deep down, I knew that was coming. Do you think he stole the records? Oh no, surely not. Iris, that can't be right, can it? Iris? Bruno. I hope you don't mind, but... What is it, Iris? I just remembered something very important I have to do. I'm going to have to leave you now. Oh, this is very sudden, Iris. Well, we'll come with you then. Oh, no. There's no need. You and Bruno can take your time here. Bye for now, then. Good luck. Don't follow me. Wait a minute, little girl. Me? I remember now. You've been here before, haven't you? Have you, Iris? Yes, 2 years ago, when that detective came. You were with him, weren't you? You were a living specimen then, too. That's the way it usually works, yes? Was I? I really don't remember. Anyway, sorry, but I mustache. Wait, Iris! I'll brew up a pot for you when you get home! While I think of how to explain this. What's the matter with her? This is such... Like, sure, we don't know exactly what it is, but we know something, like, it's related to this. So to ask what's the matter with her is just, like, bafflingly... It's baffling. Like, he just seems so stupid. I wonder what happened. Why is she acting like that? She's behaving really strangely all of a sudden. Couldn't have been because she was here 2 years ago and just conveniently forgot to tell us about that. Or that file, huh? Suddenly I want a hack and slash game with Gory as the protagonist. Well, in that case, we won't keep you any longer either.
It's been quite a while since I had any visitors. This was really fun. But next time you come, I'd prefer it if you were ready for dissection.
I can't make any promises, sorry. A bit strange that the records of Clint Van Zeke's autopsy have disappeared. I think we've asked all we came to ask now. Police are still busily investigating in here. Are they? They're in the same spots as they were yesterday. They just haven't moved.
But Gina's nowhere to be seen. Where is she?
Yes, it has been blissfully quiet, hasn't it? Perhaps she's out investigating on her own, practicing what her boss taught her.
Well, I expect she'll be back before too long. Shall we wait?
Actually... there's something different about this room since the last time we were here, isn't there?
Can always use the time to investigate more thoroughly.
The little trunk wasn't here before, was it?
Oh, it appears to be made of metal. Must be very heavy. Wonder to whom it belongs. There's some initials on the outside. Look. T-G.
That's one of the policemen. They know how it came to be here.
Oi! What do you think you're doing? That's my trunk, that is. Hands off.
Gina. Where were you hiding?
I don't know. You leave something unattended for a few seconds and every Tom, Dick, and Harry's got his greedy eyes on it.
Yeah, wouldn't you know? Just a wild guess, Gina, but...
What? Spit it out, Odo!
Is it fair to say that you've only owned that trunk since this morning's trial?
What? What are you trying to say? Come on, this trunk goes with me everywhere! Always has! Where have you been the last year?
Don't you remember? Look, I even match it! Trying not to incur your wrath, mainly.
Should hear them talking at the yard now. They should be ashamed of themselves. They're saying it was the boss who killed all them bludgers.
Ah, you mean the whole Reaper thing?
Yeah. Apparently the boss was investigating stuff no one else at the yard knew nothing about. Stuff to do with all their criminals what got off scot-free.
Yes, the ones prosecuted by Lord Van Zeeks who used bribery and corruption to evade conviction.
Well, obviously it was that bloomin' Reaper giving the orders, weren't it?
But why would people be suspecting Inspector Gregson of being involved in the killings?
There was a notebook in his office. Oh no, this doesn't sound good. It had details about all the crimes that had been pegged as the Reaper's work. What? No. Did you see it, Gina? Did you see that notebook? They wouldn't flaming let me, because I'm just an apprentice, apparently. But it was me who found it, and he was my boss. That's right. I was pretty miffed by it, so sneaked a peek at what's said anyway. Oh, that's our Gina. So you managed to see what was written in Gregson's secret notebook anyway, did you? Well, I see it. It's my right to read what he wrote. And what had he written, Gina? Dates, times, places, names, and a whole long list of them. All details about the bludger supposed to have been done in by the Reaper. But there could be an explanation for that. Perhaps it was a record of the inspector's investigations into the Reaper's activities. Exactly, that's what I said. That's the first thing you'd think, right? As it happens, it was full of names I recognized anyway. Well, the Reaper's targets were almost exclusively known leaders of London's criminal underworld. Well, yeah, but there was one name right at the end that was a bit odd. At the end of the list, you mean? I'm pretty sure the date against it was 31st October. Oh, the day before the inspector was found dead. So, what was the odd name? It wasn't like a name I've ever seen before. It was something like, it's no good, I can't remember it. I don't think it was an English name, put it that way. Oh dear, what a pity. There was something else too. I don't know if it matters, but the same name kept coming up over and over. Shin, it was. Don't suppose it means anything, but... Did you say Sheen? Shin? Did you say Shin? Ah! What? It does mean something? Asogi. Lord Van Zeeks knew the name too, mentioned her as well. A woman who actually did the deeds. And now we find out her name appeared in Gregson's secret notebook.
I wonder if, like, she wasn't the lead investigator, but she just, like, kind of went around and yelled at everyone till she, like, got it. They're just like, dude, just let her. Just fucking let her.
We haven't seen you for a little while, have we, Gina? Of course not. I've been busy, ain't I? Investigating and that. I would never say I haven't seen anyone in a while because I didn't see them for a day.
That's almost like the, long time no see joke.
Lads at the yard are trying to trace the boss's movements the day before it happened. The day before? That would be the undercover investigation into the Red-Headed League, then. Well, the boss didn't go, did he? You found some cove what was pretending to be him, didn't you, Odo? Yes, you don't have to flashback that. Well, anyway, you ain't the only one turning stuff up. I've got my own ways of getting results.
Oh, that Reaper, you know, puppy.
If me and my partner here get together, there's nothing we can't track down. Oh, little Toby, he's such a faithful friend. So, have you tracked anything down then? What do you think, eh? Of course we have. Can't tell you, though. Police business, isn't it? Ugh. Anyway, point is, if you all ever need any help, you know who to turn to, right? Me and the L-Hound here.
Right, because he looks so hellish. Honest. Maybe he poops like a hellhound. Gina, about your hellhound there.
Oh, damn it, I just put him down. I'll have to pick him up again so the player can see it. Chief Inspector Toby, you mean? He's the pride of the force, he is. Japanese police dog means something quite different, and not altogether nice to those involved in crime. But here in Britain, it's a wonderful compliment, it seems, for a canine at least. It should be. After all, in the great exhibition case the other day, it was Toby here managed to locate Trevor's workshop. No, he can never be the mastermind. Too cute. Too cute. Hey, it's time for another demonstration of what this super dog can do, eh? Do we have something the chief inspector could catch the scent of, I wonder? Gun? You know whose gun it is?
Take that!
Well, Chief Inspector Toby, if you wouldn't mind having a sniff of this. Chief Inspector said woof to that auto. Yes, I heard. I think perhaps that particular item didn't excite him very much. That's probably a good thing. Ain't you got nothing else? We'll have a think. Just let us fucking... Oh, God. What am I supposed to show him?
Take that!
He might be a little too keen, don't you think? Good lord! Chief Inspector made short work of Gina there. Ah! Look what he's gone to! Oh my, that trunk clearly still has a very strong sense. Inspector Gregson. In other words, it must have belonged to him. Alright, it's a fair cop, I suppose. You nearly got away with it, too. You always talk so proudly of Chief Inspector Toby's nose and what it can achieve. Did not cross your mind that he might identify something that was right next to us? Yeah, that was a bit of a bloomer, wasn't it? That's enough now then, Gina. I think it's time you told us the truth about that trunk. It weren't like that. It just weren't. What are you talking about? I know what's going on through that head of yours. That ain't what happened. All right then. What did happen? Well, like I said before, we were trying to trace the boss's movements. So I let Toby have a whiff of the boss's overcoat. And as soon as I done that, he went off like a shot. Straight to that sandwich. The sandwich? Not to a bag of chips? Mr. Naruhodo, I believe Gina means the witness.
Oh, I forgot about that sandwich.
Yeah, he had it hidden behind them wooden boards of his. The boss's trunk.
You mean when they heard the sound like a gunshot and all piled in here?
Exactly. He nabbed it from the scene. Goodness. What a dick. And the chief inspector gave that sandwich a good grin, and you know what he said? I thought it might fetch you a good price, and that chap wouldn't be needing it anymore, so... That's all I said, nothing more, nothing... Would you Adam and Eve the cheek of it, eh? Stealing the dead boss's stuff to flog.
So Miss Venus wasn't the only one to meddle with the scene of the crime, then.
How could they? So anyway, that's how it happened. And it's a pretty decent trunk, so I figured I might as well make use of it. There's something wrong with that, eh? Well,
maybe you and Mr. Sandwich should try to find the answer to that question together. No, this is not Ryu's finest stream. That's for sure.
I think perhaps that trunk should be turned over to the police, don't you? What are you on about? I am the police!
Gina, if you wouldn't mind, can we maybe examine it?
Yeah, alright then. Do what you want with it. Thank you. We shall make a detailed record of our examination of the evidence.
What's the matter with Toby? Why is he acting so aggressively towards me all of a sudden?
Naruhodo, be careful! It must be the trunk. Ah! Toby, oi! What are you doing? You're gonna lick his face off! It's Naruhodo! Mr. Naruhodo! Gina, quickly! Hail a carriage! Oh, Mr. Naruhodo, are you alright?
Miss Susato. Ah, conscious again at last. A blessed relief, my dear fellow. After all, to drop dead after a moderate nicking by a small terrier, most unseemly.
Was it, or what is or isn't seemly is irrelevant here, Mr. Sholmes.
Dude straight fell.
So glad there's no lasting damage. How are you feeling?
Oh, not that she's dead. She's just sleeping. Now she's catching up. She wakes up like, F! We've been live for offline! Credits! 554 hours! I'm fine, thank you. Did you bring me back here? Oh, what's this on my head? Bandage? Sadly, we have no ice. So that's a compress of sugar water. Sugar water?
Don't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. It's a first aid treatment that my father taught me.
Oh, thank you. So, let us take tea when you're feeling up to it. But of course, no sugar in the patient's cup. The bump on my head is throbbing sweetly enough. Don't worry. So wait, did he get knocked out because he fell on and hit his head? I couldn't tell if the dog was attacking him or just being really affectionate. They said he was licking him, though.
Hehe. Whenever you feel ready, then.
Hold on. Game Jam game? That is... That is not what I think of when I think of Tongue Punch. I have saved my game.
I do not know what a game jam is.
Hey, you! We got some business, fucker! Thank you for your concern, Mr. Sholmes. That's probably the better approach to it than what I said.
My dear fellow, think nothing of it. I must say I was quite startled when I heard that you'd been attacked by a dog. For a moment I feared that infamous murder of so many had come back from the dead.
You mean the professor?
Fortunately, I see your prized throat is unscathed. That stiff, turned-up collar of yours obviously afforded you some welcome protection.
Oh, that's interesting. Was I that close to death? All I really remember is the dog licking my face over and over and over again.
Well, if you wish to avoid such trouble in future, a little mustard spread on the cheeks should do the trick.
A jam of games. I see, so it's like a submission contest.
I just think that would balance the sweetness of your appendage rather splendidly.
Schwarzbiergebot, brodend wie ein Feuerberg, den Schlund es mir verbrannt, ach Hopfen deine Wut. Herr mit dem Knacker ich befahl, hat wie ein Diamant, den Zahn entzwei es brach, o über deine Wut. Herr dem seid holdlich gelobt und auf den ersten Streich alle Seiten des Teris ode an die Wut. Herr mit dem Schwarzbier.
What the fuck is happening right now?
Den Schlund es mir verbrannt, ach Hopfen deine Wut. Herr mit dem
What on earth is going on in here? Am I having a bad dream?
wie ein Diamant.
Ah, no. It's an old German folk song. Rather a fine rendition, I think. That's the least of my concerns. Actually, it's one of my top concerns because it's making everything seem creepier. Iris? Iris, what's the matter? Who's that sprawling, relaxed gentleman over there? Who's still holding onto his teacup? You get dry mouth that way. Iris? Is she even listening? Excuse me, sir. I do apologize for troubling you whilst you're singing so merrily, but would you be kind enough to explain the situation? Well, that worked. A crooning gentleman and a mute young girl. A rather tantalizing juxtaposition. And one that appears to have incited the gods of deduction within me to find their voices too. Ah, Mr. Sholmes, do you mean? Oh wait, was that Sholmes that said that? Yeah, it was. The strains of reasoning within me are playing now as a delightful duet. One melody sings of a reunion full of nostalgia. Whilst the other is a morose theme about the great secret you're trying so desperately to conceal, Iris. Turned as white as a sheet. Already pretty pale. As usual, you instantly seem to be to the... So, as usual, you've instantly seen to the very heart of the matter. And by the time my own brief performance is over, I feel this gentleman's song will reach its finale. Well then, to music land where all is sweetness and delicacy and harmony. Pray, do enjoy Herlock Sholmes' latest logic and reasoning spectacular. Firstly, we consider the gentleman's nationality. Clearly, he's a German with no grasp of the English language. As evidenced by the dramatic song he sings, and his apparent inability to understand what has to desist. Oh, God. Oh, my God. So why is the man here at all? And in such apparently high spirits? Dude, he's fucking knocked out! What are you talking about? First of all, that's Professor Mikatoma, isn't it? That's what it looks like. Yes, of course, Iris is clearly known to you. Indeed, we need only follow the gaze of those bright young eyes to unravel the particular part of this mystery. There is no command that fits this situation. The reason for the man's mildly irritating wabbling is revealed by the herbal tea. You obviously offered our German guest a cup of your latest herbal blend.
The tea's delectable flavor has made the man's spirit soar, and resulted in this joyful ditty tumbling incessantly from his lips that aren't moving. This might be like the most hilariously ridiculous deduction Sholmes has ever made. This is so very clearly not this man singing. I eagerly await sampling the flavor myself, that I may join the fellow in his state of elation. Now to the next question. Who exactly is this gentleman availing himself so thoroughly of the set? As it happens, a number of years ago now, a certain gentleman of German origin engaged my services in solving a particularly delicate case. He required the retrieval of letters once sent to an acquaintance that might have proved problematic. In order to conceal his noble identity, he also arrived in my office in a mask. The gentleman's name was Wilhelm Gottschalk Sigismund von Ornstein. The King of Germany. If my memory serves, the mask worn by the gentleman is identical. Yes, there can be no question. That mask belongs to the King of Germany. It would appear that His Majesty remembers the fine service I afforded him and has decided to show his face again, mask and all, in order to express his gratitude. A well-mannered monarch indeed, wouldn't you agree, my dear fellow? This is actually his worst deduction he's ever made, but also hilarious. Solo of Rage because it's about someone complaining about a terrible bad dinner. You know, I hear Solo of Rage and bad dinner would not come to mind. You give me 100 guesses and I probably wouldn't come up with that. That's, interesting. So the identity of this masked visitor is in fact my former client, the King of Germany. Indeed, his son is currently in London as well, enjoying the wonders of the Great Exhibition. Which leaves us with one remaining imponderable. Yes, you, young Iris. But your apparently inexplicable silence is unable to hide the truth. Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside that knapsack. £5 note, I believe. I must say, as your compatriot, I'm deeply saddened. It would appear that you've allowed yourself to be bribed into silence by His Royal Highness. God. This just keeps getting better. Earning yourself some spending money in exchange for keeping quiet about the king's secret. Nah. And now, the final piece of the puzzle. What is the secret you strive to hide with your silence, Iris? Ah, yes. We need only follow that brief involuntary twitch of your eyes to find the answer. You're attempting to abscond with the coffee cup. My favorite coffee cup, in fact. Or shall I say, the handle of my favorite coffee cup. It appears that His High-Spirited Highness broke it in the midst of his hijinks. Which leads us to the sad truth. My favorite coffee cup has been broken by the King of Germany, and Iris, you tried to conceal it from me. I shall have a bill sent via governmental channels to the German royal family for its replacement. Thus concludes Sherlock Sholmes' great deduction of this painful puzzle.
Mit dem Schwarzbierchgebot, bodend wie ein Feuerberg, den Schlund es mir verbrannt.
Why is there no music?
Deine Wut. Her mit dem Knacker ich befahl.
This literally sounds like something somebody would be saying to themselves, singing to themselves as they're ready to, like, behead someone. Or, like, slit their throat.
Über deine Wut. Herr dem Scheid holdlich gelobt und auf den ersten Streich alle Seiten des Terris.
Hey, I didn't say I didn't like the song. I'm just telling you what it seems like it would accompany. Hey, Theo. Thank you for the re-up, my dude. 10. Big ol' month. Sholmes. Hold on. Can I get a...
Hat wie ein Diamant den Zahn entzweiet.
Okay, here we go.
Sensodyne Sensitivity and Gum is a dual-action toothpaste.
Ready to take your career?
Give me that. No.
Und auf den ersten Streich alle Seiten des Terris wie Ode an die Wut.
No, that's not what I want.
Her mit dem Schwarzbierchgebot, bodend wie ein Feuerberg, den Schlund es mir verbrannt, ach Hopfen deine Wut. Her mit dem Knacker ich befahl, hat wie ein Diamant den Zahn entzweiet, es brach über deine Wut.
It writes itself.
Der dem Scheid holdlich gelobt und auf den ersten Streich.
This is stressing. It's supposed to be. How anybody can hear this song and not be distressed by, like, the possibilities is beyond me. At least this rendition of the song. I see. That is an energy saver. Your silence as well. This fellow's jovial warbling rather rings in the ears, does it not?
Mr. Sholmes, I must say something does rather trouble me.
Pray, Miss Susano, do tell.
His Royal Highness doesn't appear to have moved a muscle since we arrived.
Ah. You haven't said a word either, Iris. Mr. Sholmes has it right. You might as well own up to it now. Oh, God. Now she wants to be a 10-year-old. Your reasoning isn't entirely without substance, I must admit. And one other thing, Mr. Sholmes.
Hat wie ein Diamant den Zahn entzweiet, es brach über deine Wut. Dem Scheid holdlich gelobt und auf den ersten Streich alle Seiten des Terris wie Ode an die Wut. Her mit dem Schwarzbierchgebot.
Feel free to use that combined soundbite for something.
Den Schlund es es mir verbrannt. Ach, Opfen deine Wut.
Oh, Lord.
Her mit dem Knacker.
And one other thing.
Hat wie
This is so distracting.
Diamant
And one other thing, Mr. Sholmes.
in Zahnen zwei
Yet another grievance, Mr. Naruhodo? Surely not. Oh, I actually read the story of that case recently, the one you were just describing. According to that, at least, it wasn't the King of Germany, it was the King of Bohemia. Goodness, was it?
Yes, that's quite true. Master Gotz, the prince, testified to that in court. His words, I have come to see the great exhibition all the way from my home in Bohemia.
Oh yeah, that punk kid. I would ask you to keep that minor error to yourselves. It could easily become quite a scandal.
I believe, Mr. Naruhodo, that it's our turn now to take to make some corrections to a number of minor errors that may have slipped in.
Dem Knacker ich befahl, hat wie ein Diamant den Zahnen zwei es brach, o über deine Wut.
God.
Herr dem seid holdlich gelobt und auch
This as a command? Oh, Lord.
alle Seiten des
Later, Halucha.
Terris weh Ode an die Wut. Herr mit dem
I watch way too much anime. That's all I can say. Yes, even Mr. Sholmes is willing to admit he might be slightly wide of the mark this time.
den Schlund es mir
Although it's clear that Iris is definitely hiding something. That's not only anime, though. That is a thing in a lot of scary... Like, there'd be some, like, lullaby playing,
Knacker
and you'll hear, like, approaching figures.
wie ein Diamant.
Anime just utilizes it a little more. Normally, when you hear these types of lullabies in film, it's like some kid, but they're not like walking. You just hear like, ring around the rosy, pocket full of posies. And you're like, why would you sing it like that? Why would anyone be singing it like that? London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. Although it's clear that Iris is definitely hiding something, we need to find out the truth behind this mysterious scene. One truth is incontrovertible. My favorite coffee cup is no more. So, shall we embark again on a joint presentation of Sherlock Holmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular? So what, it's some mix of herbs that gives you the urge to sing? Goodness, I should like to try some. I'd like to hear you sing. I'd like to hear you singing, but this man, just how long does he intend to keep up with that tune, do you suppose? How stupid are we supposed to be portrayed here? Jesus fucking Christ! This is insulting. As I said, he's been stuck still the entire time, and if you look closely, his lips aren't moving either. Thank you! The one person I can always count on to be like, this seems really stupid. I'm not going to call you out on it, though. I'll just point out that you might have overlooked a very minor detail that could explain everything. Ah! So I'm not sure what's actually responsible for the spirited singing. That's spirited? Sounds like he's like half asleep. But I suspect the answer lies at the end of Iris's gaze. Wait, this is a gramophone, still rarely seen in our own country. Sound certainly appears to be coming from the horn.
Machines singing? That can't be right! Science and technology are changing the world rapidly, Mr. Naruto. What's right is changing too. Ugh, it's too much for my brain! Obviously, you fucking moron. Well, at least we found our answer.
Take that!
The reason for the man's mildly irritating warbling is revealed by the gramophone. That's exactly the correct description of it. Indeed, for no well-bred gentleman would break into an obscure folk song when making a social call. Unless you were drunk. In other words, this gentleman isn't singing at all. In fact, it would appear that the fellow's unconscious. Yeah, no fucking shit. Ah, the music seems to stop now, thank fucking God. I ask you, Mr. Naruto. Yes? Why would I have purchased a recording of that gibberish? How should I know? Well, never mind. On with the deduction. Who exactly is this gentleman availing himself so thoroughly of the sentiment? We've already established that it was actually the King of Bohemia. It seems Mr. Sholmes intends to persist with his Germany theory for some reason. Probably, it's like making fun of the game's, like, mechanic. Come to think of it, the young prince was wearing a mask as well, wasn't he? Master Guts, the boy whom you had in tears? Don't remind me, or anyone else. You suppose all members of the aristocracy of mainland Europe wear masks? I'm sure they do, well, probably anyway. The point is, that mask doesn't belong to any king. No, that's right. As well as we well know, because we can identify the true owner of this mask.
Take that!
Fuck! It's him! It's him, god damn it! Alright, who owns the mask? Let me actually look at that. We're talking about who owns the mask. Cosmo's mask?
Take that!
Yes, there can be no question. That mask belongs to Kazuma Asogi. In other words, my memory is sublimely unreliable. Only you could try to make that sound positive. Kazuma's mask has been languishing on this metal chest for several days. Well, that doesn't explain why the gentleman is wearing it now. It is now a simple matter to determine our guest's true identity. Take off the mask. After all, the gentleman is unconscious. We need only to excuse ourselves in advance, gently lift the mask, and peer beneath it. Ah! If only you excuse yourself ahead of time when they're unconscious. Then it makes it okay. He dropped it, or whatever, when he got his memory back, and I think Ryu said he took it. I don't believe it. Ah! Father! I'm afraid, Mr. Sato, you No! I think not, Mr. Sholmes! Then it would appear our logic and reasoning has once again revealed the truth. This mysterious visitor is my unconscious father, Eugene Mikotoba. Logic and reasoning, or just looking and saying? That's funny. We're just looking and saying. This is hysterical. This whole The best. Logic and reasoning spectacular. You, Iris. You've been lying to us! So that's a 5-pound note poking out from Iris's knapsack, is it? Oh dear, I can't be sure. I know, I'm not even sure if we've seen any banknotes here in Britain at all, have we? But anyway, Father would never have paid money for Iris's silence. Certainly seems like the silent type himself, though, judging by his present state. There must be some other reason for Iris's silence, I suppose. Perhaps what Iris is trying so hard not to give away with her eyes is something entirely different. What? Is this all we can rotate? Metal chest? Contains important documents, doesn't it? Yes, details of all the cases Mr. Sholmes has worked on over the years. Written up by Iris's father, if I'm remembering correctly. Iris insists the chest is kept locked at all times. She's never once shown me inside. Well, its contents are invaluable to her, I suppose, and entirely irreplaceable. Look at it now! The catch is unlocked for once. Ah, so it is! That's hard to ignore. Very. I've never seen that chest unlocked before in all the time we've been staying here at Baker Street.
Take that!
Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside that metal chest. An excellent observation. Upon closer inspection, there is something different about the chest's appearance. It's kept locked at all times, yet now, the catch is open. Evidently, this has something to do with your refusal to speak, Iris. But it's a simple enough matter to incite you to speak, I'm sure. I merely need to open the chest. Here we go. No, honey, don't. She put a fucking novelty boxing glove in there to knock out anyone who opened it. He got his fucking clock cleaned. He's dead. I love how they have the same exact fucking pose. It's a nice touch. Never. Oh, he will at some point. Oh, Hurley, I told you not to open it. Well, maybe if you just tell him why instead of just saying no. Ah, so you found your voice now, Iris. Ah! In other words, what just happened clearly reveals the truth here. Yes, the real reason for your silence until now is... This is somewhat different to the usual dance of deduction you perform with Mr. Sholmes, isn't it? Well, he's left me alone on the ballroom floor, so I'm gonna have to dance this next part solo. And anyway, I need to get to the bottom of this for my own peace of mind. Now then, Iris isn't usually the silent type, so... I mean, you don't actually know the answer yet, despite the knowing point of the finger before? This is solid. Sometimes a man needs to point his finger first and think later. Oh, well, if you say so. I think we'd better examine Iris more closely and try to rescue the situation then. It's a key she's holding. Look, I'm sure that wasn't in her hands before, was it? No, you're quite right. It's appeared as if by magic. That's strange. A big old iron key. Where did it materialize from? What?
Take that!
Yes, the real reason for your silence until now is that key behind your back. Ah! Mr. Sholmes was thrown into the air before. Just before you called out to try to stop him, you slipped something out of your mouth. That something is the key now in your hands. No doubt the key to the chest. You're so clever, Bruno! So now it becomes clear. Thanks to Mr. Sholmes' graphic demonstration, you can well imagine what happened here. But Professor Mikitoba also opened that metal chest only to be punched into the air and land sprawled on the set. But wait, that doesn't explain all the facts. What about the stylish scarf and the cup of tea? And above all, why would he be wearing Cosmo-sama's mask? Well, for those curious details, I can think of only one explanation. Clearly, an unbelievable miracle took place in this room. Isn't that right, Iris? Get the fuck out of here! It just so happened to fall like that with him? Consider how the room was arranged before this whole painful experience took place. When Professor Mikitopa opened the chest, completely unaware of what awaited him inside, the mask was flung into the air just as he was, only to land neatly on his face when it fell back to good God. This is ridiculous. The teacup's journey through the air ended when it caught on the unconscious... Dude, shut up. Stop talking! That's some Sholmes level stupidity there. You mean to say that the stylish scarf is actually just a tablecloth? This is the great detective's office, after all, a place of miraculous deductions. Would you expect anything less? Yes, you're right. It happened exactly as you said. Every last word. Yep, 100%. I'm not lying about it all. I wasn't the one that set it up at all. Brilliant, Runo. Flattery will get you everywhere. Thus concludes Ryunosuke Naruhodo's great deduction of this punchy puzzle. So then why don't I make a fresh pot of tea for us all?
Objection!
Ooh, the Sholmes objection. An admirable performance, Mr. Naruhodo. But the final act of the show there, you rather missed everything of importance. But Mr. Sholmes, you cast your mind back to my earlier deduction. Iris, clearly you're hiding a great secret. Ah! She is? Look on her face. Mr. Sholmes must be right. Whatever that great secret is, the cat isn't out of the bag yet. So, if I put it to you again, you're attempting to abscond with that coffee cup. Really is a shame about Mr. Sholmes' cup. Must have been smashed when Professor Mikitoba opened the chest. Oh dear, so many things seem to have been broken here. Now that the deduction has taken a different direction, Iris doesn't seem to be trying to hide the broken cup anymore. In other words, a great secret is something else. Put our observational skills to work here one final time, then.
It's a sizable bag. Mr. Sholmes' favorite cup. What's left of it? Obviously, hurling the air along with Professor Mikatoma. If only it had been this cup that caught on his finger before it hit the floor. Yes, but anyway, whatever Iris is trying to hide, it's clearly not this handle. What are you trying to hide, Iris? Something else on her person that I'm not seeing? I think so. Aha.
Take that!
You're attempting to abscond with that case file. Iris, as you very well know, nothing escapes the attention of a great detective. Oh no! I visited Scotland Yard's autopsy laboratory earlier today, and Dr. Gory informed us, oh lord, that was creepy as fuck, that the autopsy report of Clint Van Zeeks had gone missing. Van Zeeks? Yes, I do seem to recall stealing that. That was some years ago. I asked to see the report in question. You were with me, weren't you, Iris? You mean it was you, Iris? Those papers you have there are... I'm sorry. Forgive me! Oh, that's so sad. In truth, I would like to have thought I could have predicted the booby-trapped chest. But it caught me completely off guard. I was very nearly the late consulting detective Herlock Sholmes. I'm sorry, Hurley. So you mean this autopsy report really is? Yes, I took it from the lab, even though I knew it was very important. Was there something in it that troubled you, Iris? Not exactly something that troubled me. Something I'd been looking for. When I saw this report, when I saw the writing in it, I knew it was Daddy's. The writing? Your father's writing? What do you really mean? Iris? Must be something that's hard for her to talk about. Forgive me for interrupting. My dear fellows, Mr. Sholmes, what is it? Feels though the poor unconscious gentleman on the couch has been somewhat forgotten. Ah, Father! Perhaps we should find our guests somewhere more peaceful to rest. Mr. Naruhodo! Yes? Would you be so kind as to lend him your bed? We must do our very best to make him feel comfortable, I feel. Oh, yeah, of course. I'll help you carry him up. So will I! No, I can manage alone, thank you. You have tea to enjoy. We wouldn't want Iris's brew to stew. Because there's no better way to make the professor comfortable than dragging him upstairs like a trunk. I wonder, perhaps that was deliberate. Mr. Sholmes is making himself scarce to give Iris the chance to speak more freely. Must use this opportunity to talk with Iris. And find out what's going on. I'm saying this very loudly out loud. Alright. That is where we're going to end it for today. We will find out on Monday. On Monday. what Iris has to share. We're gonna do Members Day tomorrow. I don't know what we're gonna play yet, but I'll just make sure I have everything downloaded. Knockout City, Rocket League, Fall Guys, Left 4 Dead 2. Maybe we'll try a variety of those games. There's another one, I think, too. Remember what it was. I know we discussed it. Well, yeah, that should be fun. So for all the members that want to come join and play, we'll be looking at, like, those types of free games. Taking a break from the Jackbox type stuff. A little bit. For a little bit. So yeah, I'll be back Monday. Thank you all for watching, your patience at resolving AC situation. We are back up and running. The August schedule is up. Might add more streams just depending on my schedule, but I erred on the side of making it light just because there's I got a lot of like social stuff going on this month between family and friends and stuff. But that doesn't mean I won't be able to add a stream or two in. I just have no idea I don't have expectations for how those are going to go. So as closer I get to the date, the better I'll know. But yeah. Take it easy, everyone. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you next week. Till then, stream is adjourned.